my exhaustion turned into like simple nihilism. Because people suck. Why am I doing all this pleasing for the people who suck? Get ready with me to go treat myself to breakfast at a place I've never been to before. Honestly, I feel like in this year of 2025 where I'm the most anxious I've ever been for multiple reasons, our political climate, the world around us, and things that are going on with my life personally, I feel like I'm trying to do a lot of things this year to help calm that anxiety and let my body and my spirit know that I'm gonna be okay. And one of the ways that I want to do that is by being more vulnerable and being more free. I am a person who has existed for a long time as someone who is afraid of being judged. And as a matter of fact, I have spent a good portion of my life trying to live up to other people's expectations because the idea that I could be what people needed me to be felt like a guarantee that people wouldn't leave. Spoiler alert, that's not true. I've come to learn through many, many forms of heartbreak, not just romantic, but platonic and familial also, that that's just not true. I could spend all the time in the world crafting a version of Lauren to fit every scenario. And the reality of the situation is that someone is always going to be disappointed with the version that appears before them. And the thing about the versions that I create for other people is that, yes, part of them, it is me, sort of, but it's not the me that is most commonly found in the doldrums of the day-to-day. It's a curated version of me. And that curation is 100% in order to get people to stay in my life. Because for some reason, I've picked up in some messaging somewhere along the way that the version of me that exists without curation is not a version of me that is worthy of having people stay around. Again, I don't know where this messaging came from. I realized a long time ago how exhausting it is to live like that because a lot of people on the outside of people that are people pleasers think that we just don't know how bad it is, how detrimental it is, right? But the reality of the situation is that oftentimes us people pleasers have weighed the alternative, right? And in our brains, the alternative is we are completely and utterly alone, desolate and isolated from any form of human care should we not be able to fulfill the expectations of others. And no, like seriously, that sounds like an exaggeration, but for a lot of people pleasers, the consequences of being someone who stands up for themselves and is genuine all the time, regardless of how it comes across, far outweighs the exhaustion and the mental anguish of having to put yourself in a box every day just to exist. It does get to a point eventually, though, where you realize that the exhaustion is simply not worth it, right? And for me, I've had to really watch that because my exhaustion turned into like simple nihilism. Because people suck. Why am I doing all this pleasing for the people who suck? And you know, we don't really have an explanation for that, right? The only explanation that I can think of is just, again, that cost-benefit analysis of being genuine versus having someone around to purport that they care for you, right? And maybe it's that we have a warped sense of what care is and what that looks like and how people treat you when they actually care. And I can't sit up here and say that I've never had anybody truly, genuinely care for me. I don't know, maybe it's a quantity versus quality thing, but I know that I've reached a point in my life right now where the quality is definitely more important to me, and my mental exhaustion with everything else going on around me does not afford me the luxury of continuing to be a people pleaser, right? Where does this come in line with what I'm doing today? Well, back before COVID decided to completely upend our lives. I had just gotten out of a long-term committed relationship where I was engaged. I wish him all the best. But getting out of that relationship was one of the first major heartbreaks I ever experienced. And in order to regain myself and kind of figure out who I was as a person outside of that relationship, I decided that I was going to start trying new restaurants here in Cleveland at least twice a month, and I would take myself out and enjoy myself. And then COVID hit. Boo. So today I'm getting back to that in an attempt to kind of bring myself some joy, and I'm doing a lot of filming of things because now I've decided to go on this variety vlogging journey. And one of the things that I have to push myself to do is be more comfortable with recording myself in spaces outside of my home. And to be honest, it's really difficult. Nobody talks about how difficult it is, because even when I'm here in my house and I'm filming TikToks and filming for YouTube, I'll be getting embarrassed. I'm embarrassed in my own house. How am I gonna film outside of it, right? Feel like people are always judging me if I have my phone out, and like that's just the life of if you're vlogging or blogging, or if you're trying to be an influencer. That's just like something you have to get over, the perception of what people think you're doing versus what you're trying to achieve. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing to try to achieve for yourself, they can't lay any claim to or lay any judgment to once what's done is done, right? And if it's for you, then it's for you, you know? Even as I'm trying to be my most authentic self on the internet, I find myself worrying about posting things that are my opinion, right? I have ideas for long form YouTube videos that I want to film around personal style and what it's like being in your 30s during this time period, trying to find your personal style after living through the 2016 baddies era and being a child of the early aughts. But you know, in my brain, I'm like, you know, someone is going to disagree with what I have to say about that. And, you know, there's always going to be someone who disagrees. Is my fear of someone publicly disagreeing with what I have to say stronger than my desire to create this thing and put it out there into the world and know that I did a thing? I don't know. We're going to find out. But my hope is that I'm stronger than that, right? Right now, I feel like I'm being led to just put myself out into so many spaces with the things that I love, right? There's this whole thing going on right now where people are calling themselves multi-passionate. I have always been multi-passionate, and I'm so glad that we're in a space now, after the years of niche down, that people feel comfortable being like, no, actually, I really love this, and this, and you can catch me doing all of those at once, right? Because I've always been that way. Blame it on the ADHD or whatever, but that's my niche, is having none. Having no niche at all. Or maybe it's having too many niches, I guess. I don't know. But I feel called lately to put myself out there and not be concerned with what kinds of reactions it generates, right? And so I'm on the path to doing that, and it's scary. It's scary. Even right now, like I'm in my pajamas and got my edge layer on and like, right? I feel like it's exposure therapy in the sense that the more I put myself out there, the more I have to make the active decision not to care about what people think about me, right? And in turn, what I'm hoping is that that produces a version of me that feels more authentic to me. I have really great friends in my life who I know have seen the absolute worst of me in my most anxious, most depressed, most doom and gloom, sad state. And they're still here. So, and you know, my goal should be that one day I will find a romantic partner who will do the same, right? All right, and this is how I'm looking. Man, big booby problems with button downs, I'm telling you. Thanks for taking the time to watch me do my makeup and yap. I hope that I see you guys on other parts of my journey in being more authentically me. I'm gonna go because this place closed at 2 o'clock and it's probably already in line. Okay, bye. Bye.